Hey, everybody, and welcome back to So, What's Your Process? The show where we talk with creative people from all different fields about what they do and how they do it. I'm Kyle Dalsimer.
And I'm Allie Dalsimer.
And Allie, we've got a really exciting guest today, don't we?
We do indeed. Today's guest is a friend of mine and a media trailblazer. He is the editor-in-chief of Conversations Magazine and Mississippi Success Magazine. He's the author of Power Your Life with Positivity and Words I Choose to Live By. He is on Amazon Live. He is the head of Conversations Media Group. He's an Amazon Top 200 reviewer. He's been a social media and on-air personality for over 2 decades. He has conducted over 11,000 interviews, and he has developed a brand that is globally recognized now for storytelling and empowerment and positivity and motivation. Welcome to the show, Cyrus Webb.
I just want to travel with you guys. Thank you so much for having me. I love that introduction. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
We're so excited for you to be here.
I'm glad to be here. It's an honor.
Awesome. Well, so I want to touch on that. So, nearly 2 decades hosting Conversations Live. More than 2 decades?
You've been doing this
more than 2 decades. Wow. 11,000 interviews.
Yeah.
How do you keep it fresh with all that time? What do you do to keep things going and keep it dynamic? I mean, I can't imagine talking to 11,000 people on this show.
Well, Kyle, let me just tell you why. I have no life. No, I'm just kidding. No, honestly, I'm a naturally curious person. I always have been. I've never thought much of myself, ironically, and it's played into what I do professionally in that I've always felt like everyone I meet, whether it's an Uber driver or someone cleaning the floor somewhere, they have a story. And I love sharing those stories. So that's really what keeps it fresh for me, Kyle, is that I feel like everyone's story matters, even if they don't think so. And I think there's something we can learn from everyone's story.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a really good response. I have a question. So all these people that you've interviewed, some of them you know well, some of them you really don't know well. So how do you approach an interview? What's your process for preparing for it, conducting it, all that, when you know someone perhaps well versus someone you've never met and really don't know at all? Is there a difference in how you do that?
I love that question, Alex. So actually there is a difference. So people who I feel like I know well, who then probably trust me, right? I feel like I can sometimes peel back deeper layers with them and talk about things that maybe they're not comfortable talking about with other people that I believe will benefit others. I've never tried to do it to try to be sensationalistic or to be able to hurt anyone. But I feel like sometimes when someone knows you, and that's why I love when people who know me interview me, that they're able to go deeper into those layers. When it's someone that does not know who I am, which is 80% of the interviews I do these days, I feel like the main thing is that they know I'm here to be with them. I'm not trying to bring anything out of them that they don't want to. I'm there to help them tell the story that they want to tell, and to do it in a way that maybe other people have not done. So part of my process, really, especially for people I don't know well, Allie, is that I go through and maybe watch or listen to interviews they've done before. Maybe someone mispronounced their name, and I try to go on their site to make sure I pronounce their name correctly, or just ask them, look, I'm from the South. Can you just tell me how to pronounce your name to make sure I'm saying it correctly? And just those little things put them at ease. And that's really, I think that's why my show Conversations work so well, is because it really is that. It's less about, tell me about your music, tell me about your show or your book. It really is a conversation with us getting to know each other better and sharing that with other people.
Yeah, that's probably why you're so good at what you do. So I have another question, because that sparks something else.
Yeah.
And that is, when you're going through these interviews, have you ever had an interview, or does it happen often, where you learn something about yourself in the process of interviewing someone else and learning about them?
Yeah, and actually, that's one of the most fun things for me. I mean, I'm honored when interviewers say, if they've ever been asked that before, or thank you so much for bringing that up. But I have learned so much, Alec, and healed so much over the years because of interviews. I remember right after my grandmother died in 2014, I had taken off a week and a half because I wasn't feeling it, and I didn't feel like I had anything to give. And one of the first guests I had a chance to interview was someone who was talking about the layers of grief.
Oh.
And it was one of those things that really helped me and I actually talked about it and actually started crying on the air, on the radio station here in Mississippi, because it touched me so much because it was exactly what I needed. So, yeah, I mean, I feel like a lot of times that's another reason why I am so consistent with the show, is because I realize I'm going to get just as much out of it as hopefully the guests and even the audience.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And that reminds me of something. I read an interview that you did a little while ago, and there was a quote that really stuck out to me when you were asked about just sort of how you go about your creative and business process. And you said, my approach has been that of service, not selling. And I'm wondering if you can expand on that a little bit and what you meant by that.
Right. So, Kyle, we all are in business, right? And I mean, I have been very fortunate. I started the radio show when I was 28 years old in 2003. In 3 years, I was able to leave my full-time job of a decade because it was growing so quickly, and that became my full-time thing, and it's been that ever since. So since I was 31 and this became my thing, I realized that, one, it was monetizable. That part was obvious to me. But I didn't want it to just be about money. I wanted it to be about someone feeling like they were getting something from it, not just the guest, and of course, whatever it is they wanted, but also the audience as well. So service has been very important to me. I come from a family of servers. I'm the first entrepreneur in my family. I'm the first one to write a book, first one to do anything that's public facing the way that I do it. And so I saw people get up and serve. That's what my father, who just retired 2 years ago, he was a landscaper, and he took a lot of pride in that. That was his way of serving and making things look beautiful. And my mother worked at a plant, and that's what she did. She was a person of service. So for me, I realized that's how you really make a connection with people. I mean, getting people to support you financially becomes easier when they feel like you've made it about them and not just about yourself. And so that's really the approach I've taken with everything I've done with my brand, is that it's not just about what I can get out of it, but what is mutually beneficial for all the parties involved.
Yeah.
That's a lovely answer.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're talking with someone, if they say something really unexpected that takes you to a place you didn't anticipate, but maybe it's a sensitive spot, or maybe it takes you away or off track from the direction you wanted to go, how do you choose in that moment to proceed and push versus deciding maybe to table it or not push? How do you handle that in the moment, in terms of is your process for dealing with that unexpected?
Yeah, and it does happen. It happens quite a bit, and especially for those that I interview that are more high profile, that are actors, or maybe because a lot of times, especially, and Kyle, you'll get this, a lot of times they are so guarded because they don't know if the person actually has their best interest at heart. They're just trying to get some clickbait or something, you know what I'm saying, to take them out of the. But when people feel comfortable enough with me, I try to treat that very, very carefully, Allie. So I appreciate their openness, and especially when they started off by saying, I've never talked about this before, or I wasn't planning on talking about this. I then kind of think about what they're saying and how it can be perceived. And that is kind of how I determine how far I go with it. A lot of times I just leave it there because I feel like, when I have found this myself, a lot of times they just need to say it. They finally found a place that they feel comfortable just saying something, and it doesn't even require a response or someone to take it to another level. And I try to judge that in the moment, like you've mentioned, by saying, you know what, okay, it may not do them, the most service now to keep going into that, but the next interviewer, they may feel more comfortable even going even further in that now that the door's been opened. So I'm very mindful of that. I've never done anything for a click. Never. I mean, I turned down interviews that could probably get me a lot of attention or, bring me a lot of notoriety just because it doesn't feel right for me, or I don't think what they want from it is what I would want my audience to take away from it. And I try to use that even in those sensitive moments, like you mentioned.
Wow, that's really cool. It leads to another question, which is, when you're doing interviews, or maybe when you're planning interviews, do you think of it more as an exercise in listening, active listening, or is it more in terms of framing?
Oh, I love that question. I've never been asked that question before, Ellie. So actually, it's a dance of both. So I try to, and I even have, when you and I are together, Allie, I try to make my intentions clear to them in the very beginning. That, and even I've had some situations again with some high profile people who've gotten into some stuff, and I let them know, you know what, I'm not here to talk about that unless that's something you want to talk about. This is what I would like for us to talk about. But if you feel like you need to do that, we can do that, but we're not going to make it all about that. For me, it really is about, okay, how can we move forward, and how can the person move forward, and what the audience can learn about moving forward. So I try to dance between those things of being able to be there for them to talk about the things they want, but also not to make it about things that they don't want to, so that they again will feel comfortable, and I think make it more enjoyable for the audience, because that's really my whole thing. It's less about me and more about them, how they feel, and what the audience can get from it.
Yeah, that's fascinating. I'm very interested in the idea that moving forward idea. It actually it sparks something I've been thinking about when I prepare for an interview with someone on the show. I always try and find like a word that sort of sums them up in my mind, and build from there. And the word that I have for you is prolific. I mean, you have nearly 5,000 YouTube videos uploaded. You've got multiple books, podcasts. You've got your radio show, your illustrator. I mean, that's just scratching the surface. I mean, the magazines, all the work on Amazon, everything. And I'm really curious for you, what is there something that drives that work ethic from the beginning? Is it that that family legacy of service? Is it something else? Is there something that drove that for you?
Oh boy, yes. um, you know, the thing is, for myself, what really drives it at this point is that, Cal, 30 years ago, I tried to take my life.
Mm.
And I took my life because I felt like I had nothing to offer and nothing to give. And once I realized that I did, I made myself a promise, and I made God a promise that I would use every day that I had to do all that I could for as many people as I could. And I've been very fortunate in those 30 years to be provided platforms where I could do that in a lot of different ways, with my artwork, with my words, with my platform when it comes to media, and just by being a good person. And that is what does drive me. The fact that I've been given a lot. I didn't always see that. I didn't always see the gifts that I had been given. Now I use every day to be able to harness all those gifts and use them as much as I can and share them with as many people as I can. So I paused because when you were talking about the different things, honestly, I don't even think about it. I wake up and I just do, because I have those gifts, and I have platforms to do them with. But I think that's really it, making the most of every day. I don't want to go to bed at night feeling like I left something undone. And I used to, especially after my grandmother died now 11 years ago, I used to say every night when I go to bed, if this was the last day, I wanted to say I gave everything I could. I wanted that to be said, that Cyrus used every day he had to give all that he could.
Wow. I mean, that's really, really powerful.
Yeah.
And I think that there's a really cool, juxtaposition in that idea where, in choosing life every day, just being here is a gift in and of itself.
Yeah.
and taking that gift and using it to its full advantage and turning that into gifts for others, which is, I think, what you've done in your work. You talk about the service, you talk about the the work you've done to make people feel comfortable when you interview them, to uplift other creatives in your field and outside of your fields. I really think that is it's very emblematic of the work that you do, and it shines through, even if people like myself didn't know that story before.
Yeah, well, thank you, I appreciate that.
Yeah. And I also should apologize for not mentioning your artistic work. You do so much. I forgot to mention it. You are actually an amazing artist. You are an amazing artist, and I really have enjoyed watching you create, because you do put that on live. I did have one other question, and I was wondering, you clearly have a journey that you are on. And we've talked about journeys, of course, in the context of the interviews you've done with me. But your journey has been remarkable. But have you found your voice yet? Do you feel like you are where you are, like, destined to be, or do you feel like you're still discovering your own voice and your own inner self?
Yeah, Allie, I really enjoy that question, and let me tell you why. So that's why I wrote the book Inevitable. So the answer is yes and no. I know that I'm doing exactly what I'm supposed to be doing and using my platform, but I'm still not comfortable with it. Success scares me. And I realized in my life growing up, what really was my problem was I didn't want to let anyone down. No one ever told me I let them down. No one ever told me they were disappointed in me. I've never heard those words from anyone that I cared about. But the fact that, we live in a world where we see where power can corrupt, where people don't always use their platforms for good, right? That people are not looking to build people up. They're up to, I realize I'm in an interesting place in the world and in my life where I have a choice to make. Every day I show up, can use my platform to motivate and inspire, or to fearmonger and spew hatred, and get people to be divisive. And so I'm very careful with that. I understand that it's the place that I'm in, and I respect that. But it scares me because I'm very intentional every day to make sure I'm using it correctly, Allie. So yes, I understand that this is, in my family now, my parents, especially now, what we're getting ready to do here in Mississippi, the most physical, tangible example of my success, building a place here. It's scary to me, because it's like, okay, there's a lot of responsibility comes with that, and you want to make sure you use that wisely. And so that is my daily thing. Now, by nature, I am a good person, but we all know that it takes work to be good. It's not something that you just wake up and that's just who you are every day, especially with everything going on in the world. So for myself, I find myself in this daily push. Okay, Cyrus, make sure you're using your platform in the correct way, so that you can be that example to others as to what's possible. And to not use it in a way that makes people feel less than, but help them better understand the greatness that I see in them.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Powerful. Yeah. And there was a lot in there. And I definitely want to get to some of your future plans and the building and other things in a minute. I have two questions that came to mind, and I'm just going to go ahead and ask them both. And
sure.
The first is, if you had to describe yourself in 5 words, what 5 words would those be? And then the other question that also sprang to my mind is, if you had to describe your ideal guest in 5 or less words, what would those words be?
Oh, okay. So let's go with me. So now I have to say, I'm hard on myself, right? But I also realize the things that have helped me get to where I am. One thing about me is I'm methodical. That is one of the big traits that my family talks about. I'm the person, I'm the planner in the family. I'm the one that someone dies. I'm the Green Reaper. They have to call people. I'm the person that is best in that role. I'm also though a person who's dependable though, and I think that has really served me personally and professionally. I'm also a person I would say that is lovable, but with an asterisk, because I'm lovable in that I'm not going to do anything to intentionally hurt you, but I'm going to push you to be the best of yourself each and every day, because that's what I want you to do for me. The fourth word I would use for myself would definitely relate to being methodical, and that is being someone who's calculating. Now, I know that can be seen as being a negative thing, but I don't think I could have built what I've built in the past 28 years um, without being calculating. Because I understand that, there's that great quote by Ruth Bader Ginsburg. You will appreciate this, Allie. You can have everything, but not at once.
Right.
And so I realize that some things just take time. And the last thing I would say is I would say that I'm complicated. I am definitely a person that is not easy to always read, especially when I'm off the air and off of the public stuff. Because as an introvert, it's like I then kind of fold inward, and that's kind of my time to heal, but also to reflect on what's happened, in the day's time, but also to see how I can use it for myself. Now, as far as for guests, I mean, I can really sum it up in one word. I really just want them to be ready. I want them to be ready. Be ready to talk about what it is that they're passionate about, to be able to express themselves in a way that brings their best self forward, and to not feel as though they have to present something that is not who they are. And because that's really what I think helps me to bring out the best of them for them, but also for the audience as well.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, we're ready.
Yeah.
Just letting you know.
I believe that. I believe that.
And listen, Cyrus is ready, so he's our ideal guest too.
Exactly.
No, I want to talk about, we just touched on it very briefly, but I'd love to talk about the the new the new, I think, biggest thing going on with you, which is this brick and mortar location that you've got coming up in Mississippi. What made you decide that it was time for that? What drove you to that decision, and what are you excited about for our guests who might not know as much yet, just to share a little bit more about that?
Yeah, and what's involved in it, because it's a multi-pronged kind of effort.
Yeah, it is. So I may get a little emotional with this, so bear with me. So I never thought I would get here where I would need something like this. So Conversations Media Group, which I started now 22 years ago, it has been the home of everything I do. But it's always, I had an office when I lived in Jackson, Mississippi, and then of course it's in my home, as far as where I live now in Brandon, Mississippi. But it's never had its own thing. But it's needed its own thing for a while. I mean, it is truly taken over the majority of my life. And so it needs its own thing I work with over 1,000 brands a year. So those are products that come in. So I've had to take 4 rooms in my home for inventory it's needed its own thing for a while. So I knew I wanted to do that, but I also knew, because of partnerships that I have with some of the larger publishers like Simon Schuster, Random House, they provide books for me to use for giveaways for in-person things that I do here in Mississippi. So I was thinking about that. I was like, you know what, Cyrus, you have gotten to a place where I had some property, and I was like, you should do this. You should build a place for conversations. So Conversations Media Group will have its own place. But also, this city that I live in does not have a bookstore. I'm like, you can start a bookstore. And I also will have a conference room, because this area does not have a conference room. And so, it basically will be 3 buildings. And we went back and forth when I told my parents about it. they were very excited. They get a lot more excited than I do because I'm not into the tangible reward stuff. Kyle, I mean, I'm into the work. I'm not into the reward. So I don't buy stuff I don't do stuff. So my mom's like, oh, well, you have to have this. And you have like, wait a minute. No, I don't actually need all that. She's like, no. You gotta have a mini apartment there. What are you doing to sleep there? I'm like, Mom, it's 3 miles from the house. You know? So they got excited. And I was like, okay. So the initial thought was, okay, we'll end up building this thing. But because I've built offline relationships, which I always stress to people, the importance of that. And, you know, there are then these manufacturing companies that are here. There was like, when I first mentioned it, they're like, hey, we can provide you with you just tell us what your specs you want. We can build it for you and just bring it out there.
Wow.
And so I was like, really? So anyway, so that's kind of where we are. So yeah, so that's coming in July 2026. So, but let me tell you what kind of spurred things moving quicker. I was spending some time with my mom, and she looked at me and she said, when we were talking about the plans initially, and she says, I would love to be alive to see it. And that was rough because it reminded me of there are some things I can't control, right? My grandmother died the year I got my first book deal. My first book was traditionally published, and she never got to see it. And when my mom said that to me, it was like, wow, you know, that was a reminder of, with all the influence and stuff that I've been able to garner over these years, I have no control over where she's here to see it or not, you know? And so I started to accelerate things. I went to the guy and said, hey, how soon can you get this property cleared off? He said, hey, we can get it done by the end of September. So I'll say, let's go ahead and just get that done. And so then I went to one of my other Amazon partners that has these pop-up tents that are really nice. I mean, you can do parties, all kind of things in them. And I was like, you know what, we're going to have an event in October. So that's kind of how things accelerated. That was not the initial plan, but my having that conversation with my mom and her saying, you know, about her being alive to see it, I was like, okay, I want her to be able to see something, you know? And so that's kind of what has accelerated things. So yes, so officially it's coming in July 2026, but in October, we're going to have 2 events. We're going to have a pop-up event here in Mississippi where I'll be able to kind of talk about the vision, and my Amazon partners are going to provide things for giveaways. And we're going to basically use it as a way of kind of talking about all the things that are happening. And then October the 29th, we're going to do a Guinness Book of Records attempt to do the most TV interviews in 12 hours. We're going to be doing it actually on the property. So yeah, I'm excited. It's a new level of nervousness and fear because, again, I was saying to Earl Alley today, it's not a fear of not doing it. I know it's going to happen. I mean, I do 50 interviews in a week, so I know I could do it in 12 hours, five interviews an hour. But am I ready for what comes after that? Because now I'm already now that I've put it out there, even on social media is actually already contacting me about it. And it's like, okay, I really don't like that part of I just want to do the work of the thing. So that was my long answer of saying that's kind of what's coming. It's a new level of anxiety only because of the attention of it. But I am excited. I'm excited about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's hit that Guinness World Record that you're headed for. So how many you said about 50? five interviews in an hour. So that's what is the current record, and you're feeling confident that you can break it then?
Yeah, I do feel confident. So here's the funny, and a lot of this stuff I've downplayed over the years. So Allie, I don't think even knows this. I'm the president of the Rankin County Arts Alliance here in Mississippi. So I do a lot online outside of what people see online. So I'm known in the state because I'm a contributor writer for the state newspaper. I do, and so people know me. So that part, having 50 people to interview through the 12-hour period, that part would not be a problem. And plus, I also am a special contributor for the ABC affiliate here as well when it comes to doing local interviews and stuff. The current record is 43. It was set by a journalist in Lebanon,
Oh, wow.
not in the States, but actual Lebanon.
Mm.
And that was in 2017. So no one's broke it since 2017. So I applied for 50, and I'm going to do it on Amazon Live, Kyle, so people literally around the world can watch it during the
real
12
time.
hours. Yeah, in
That's
real
cool.
time. Yeah. And interact with us and that kind of. And Amazon's excited because they've never had anyone do that before. So of course I'm going to have that attention with that. Like I, need anything else to bring up the nerves. But the last thing I'll mention is that even though 50 is a number, my goal is actually 65 to make it harder for the next person to break it.
Wow.
Wow.
That's so exciting. I'm so interested actually in something you've sort of hinted at it a couple times.
Yeah.
Talking about the media attention and how that's almost a negative for you, and that's so interesting because I think for a lot of people, especially people going after Guinness Book of World Records type things, that's not only a positive, but for a lot of people, that's the reason to get the notoriety, to get the attention for it. And so that's so fascinating. I wonder if you can talk more on that.
Well, yeah, I'll tell you my problem with it, Kyle. And this is but anyone who knows me will understand this because it puts too much attention on me and not the work. I don't like attention on myself personally. I love it when the work is amplified, but as far as it being about me, that part has never been comfortable for me. So that anytime I've had situations come up that it becomes about me, I find myself slowing things down or backing up from things because, again, as a naturally private person, and you wouldn't know it by the life I live, and then being an introvert, the personal attention is not something I enjoy. If it was something just about a platform I was doing, that part I would be totally fine with. But yeah, the personal attention, that's the part that'll be difficult.
That's super interesting. And it makes me think of a phrase I heard once, because I'm also an introvert, and but like you, turn it on for the cameras, for the entertainment. And someone once said, you play a good extrovert on TV. And I think that's a good descriptor of you.
Yeah, but here's the thing though, right? Who you are is integral to what you do and what you produce. Whether it's your, not as much in your interviews, although those questions come from you. They're filtered through your lens and your perspective, your experiences, but your writing, you've got the new book that's available, and you've got the artwork, and we didn't even talk whether or not you're going to have a gallery in your new space, but these are creative endeavors that are a self-expression. So how do you tease apart the you versus the product or the work when you are such an integral part of that?
That is a great question, and it is really contradictory, isn't it? Because everything begins and ends with me, and it is odd. It's just, I don't know. It's just I like again, it goes back to serving. I like the service aspect of it because even though I enjoy art, I love the way it makes people feel. I love the way. So, my words, I like the way people are inspired by them. But it is when it's just on me. And I guess part of that too, it goes back to what I mentioned earlier though, guys. And that is, still dealing with that idea of worthiness, and feeling okay with that. I've been able to place a cocoon around myself with the work. But when you peel it back and it's me that's in the center, that part is still a work in progress. And I see it in myself all the time. I've talked to you, Ellie, about when things are happening, sometimes I will start slow walking it. And when it feels like it's too much for me personally, I find myself doing that. And I think now people have worse problems. They have worse problems, but it is still an issue that I battle. So it's one of those things that's a work in progress for me.
Yeah, I get that. We've been talking here for a little while about all the things that you do. and all the things that you are initiating, and you're in the process of starting all kinds of new projects. And two questions spring to mind. And one is, what do you want to do that you already have planned? Because we've already established that you are a planner and a plotter and, a kind-hearted Machiavellian type.
Yeah.
What is it that you still are intending to do? And also, what is it that you are currently working on that might have to give? Because it's like squeezing a balloon, right? Or like, Ruth Bader Ginsburg said, you can't have it all or all to change that, to do it all. I mean, there's only so many hours in the day. So how do you intend to pursue that?
That is a great question. So let me say this. Let me take the second question first, Allie, because one thing I'm very, very big on is being realistic. And I do realize that even though I squeeze a whole lot in a day, that I still only have 24 hours in a day. So I have already adjusted that's why I have a paper calendar that I still use even today. I'm already have made adjustments in my schedule, so I know that there will be less of some things as I'm putting more things on. Now, here's the thing though, Allie, no one will even notice because I do so much every day. Now, I'm on Amazon 6 days a week. Regardless of what type of show it is, people won't remember if I did an art show. I haven't done an art show in 4 weeks, but no one's noticed because I've still been doing art. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's one of those things. I've learned how to craft this world I've created in a way that you get everything, but maybe not the way that it was initially laid out to you. So instead of my doing art every Monday live, I do art in the evenings as I'm relaxing. Even though that's still work, but that's relaxing, right? You don't get to see that, but you get to see the end result of it. So that's how I kind of do it. So I don't think that I'm Superman in any stretch of the imagination. I realize I'm limited by time, so I do kind of adjust with that. I will break some news for you guys. You mentioned something that is coming up.
Yeah.
And this is something that no one knows. Well, one person knows.
It's an exclusive.
Yeah, it is an exclusive because I have not talked about this publicly. So one of the things that's going to happen, and this goes to me making everything a thing the way I do, with the Guinness World Record attempt, all of those will have to be in-person interviews. Okay, so that means I would have to have each one of the people have to be there because I fill out the consent form, all of that. The asterisk with that is they're going to be a part of my book that I'm building around the Guinness Book World Records.
Oh, wow.
So there are pictures. I have a photographer. So you may have saw I made a post about hiring people. I have a photographer that's going to be there taking pictures of everyone. The interviews that I do, because all I have to do is ask 4 questions of every guest. The 4 questions they're asked and their answers will be there in the book. So we have a piece of history that will end up in my bookstore. See, everything's a thing for books you need to read, and on Amazon, of course. So yeah, so that's what I'm excited about. I haven't talked about that at all publicly. So you guys are getting it first. But yeah, I'm excited about that because not only will they be able to be a part of history, they'll be able to have their own history out there too.
That's brilliant.
Yeah.
I love that. That's brilliant.
That's phenomenal.
I think that's awesome.
Yeah, I love that. I want to sort of piggyback off of the question that you just had. And I want to know, is there anything you haven't explored yet that you'd still like to? Any field of creativity that you haven't dipped your toes into yet that maybe you'd like to take a shot at?
I like that question too, because you know what? Honestly, no. I've had the privilege of doing some acting. It was fun. I was a part of 2 short films that were shot here in Mississippi. That's before I started building up so much on the media side of what I was doing, and so that was a lot of fun. Allie, I don't even know if you know this. I've done voiceover for 2 documentaries. So I have that I've done. So I have an IMDb page with those. I worked on a project with Michael Bublé.
Completely.
Yeah, I worked on a project with Michael Bublé and his wife, actually in New York in 2008. Got a credit for that, working in a scene of her first English speaking movie. So the acting part, I mean, I have nothing against it. It's just not. Well, actually, I had another part too. I played a reporter too. I just thought about that, called In Fair Market Value. So shot there in New York as well. But no, I mean, I'm pretty okay. I'm okay with with everything that I'm doing, there's nothing, I can honestly say this to the two of you. There's nothing I want to do that I'm not doing.
Mm. Wow.
That's great. I have to say, you are the epitome of a Renaissance man. Just, it's crazy how much you are involved in these creative endeavors. And I love that your process is all about service and listening, but framing. But what I hear underneath it all is that you are very driven, and you push the people you interview and the people you work with as well, that you push them because you understand the benefits of being driven. So it seems like the basis, the driving force of your process is a driving force, which is kind of interesting.
Mm.
Yeah.
Don't you think?
Yeah. I agree with you. And not because I do realize that a lot of times, just like I didn't see my own personal greatness, I think that's true with everyone at some point in their lives. But I think we all also have someone in our lives that sees something in us that we don't. And that is definitely a gift of mine as well, to see something in other people, and I try to keep it realistic, but also let them know what is relatable and doable. And so that definitely is something I strive to do.
Wow. Yeah. I love that. And I think that you're spot on about that process. And I think it all comes back to, that 18-year-old Cyrus choosing life and choosing to not only accept each day, but to take each day and fill it with everything that you want to do, everything you want to achieve. I think that's wonderful.
I have kind of an off-the-wall question before we let you go. And then also I'd like to ask your input on one other thing. Mm-hmm. And the input part is, if you had words of wisdom to share with others who might be interested in getting into some aspect of media, what would be that golden nugget you would offer? And then the other question I have is just a little bit off the wall, because 11,000 interviews, right? And who knows how many books you've read? I mean, I don't even know if you know how many books you've read. I'll ask, but how many books have you read? But I have a question on that. If you could interview one fictional character from one of the books that you've read, who would it be and why? So that was a lot. So
that was a lot. But so Ellen, let me go to something that you said that really this is another weird gift that I had that my family realized early on. And I talked to a doctor on my show that said I have an eidetic memory. Oh. I don't really think that's true, but it's probably pretty close, because there are things I read when I was a teen that I can literally close my eyes and see the words. And so I do read a lot of books. I read typically about 600 books a year. And so, I read a lot. But now they all are different sizes, though. So,
wow.
I do read a lot. Now, some of that is for pleasure, then some of it is for the shows. So that gift. So it goes to the question about the character. The character that I would want to, and this is going to sound probably crazy for some people, but I think you'll get this because of what I just said.
Okay.
Robert Langdon from the Dan Brown books. Oh. I felt such a kinship to Robert Langdon when I read the Da Vinci Code.
Wow.
And because I felt a part of myself, the quirkiness, the oddity, but also the gifts. And that's what made me want to read the other books. I did not enjoy Angels and Demons as much, but the Da Vinci Code, I love that. Inferno, love that. Angels and Demons, I didn't. Yeah,
I get that.
So Robert Langdon would be the character, and so that was that question.
And then the other was advice.
Yeah. So the advice one actually is something that you would give people as well, Allie, and that is to trust the voice. If you feel like there's something that you want to do, that you genuinely want to do, even if you don't know if you could monetize it, even if you don't know if anybody else would care, at least try it. If you had told me at 18, 20 years old that I would have a radio show that I would then be on television and write for the state newspaper and then end up on Amazon doing a show, I would have laughed at you because, again, I didn't even talk to people in high school. So I mean, but I didn't know when I talked to people one-on-one, I was always very empathetic. People called me, teachers would call me just to kind of talk about things happening. I mean, I was a very interesting child. And that has always been the case. I've always been someone that people felt comfortable just talking with. And so I would say just trust the voice. If you feel like you've been given something, do it. I tell this story when I first was given the opportunity to be on the radio here in Mississippi. I'm just celebrating 22 years here on the radio dial. The show was initially called Let's Talk with Cyrus Webb. I was supposed to be a talking head. Ellie, I don't even know if you knew that.
No.
So I was supposed to be a talking head to talk about things happening and give my opinion. That's not even who I am. I don't give my opinion about stuff. But I had a guest that called in. And this will be an interesting story for you, Allie, because you know Chris Collier. His wife, Angela Collier, called into the show. She ended up being my inadvertent first guest and said, Cyrus, I'm listening to you and congratulations. She's an artist. And I said to her, Angela, for people who don't know who you are, why don't you tell them about your art? And when she started talking, I knew that was the show I was supposed to have. And that's what I've had now for 22 years. So I trusted that it wasn't about Cyrus. People didn't even know who Cyrus was. So they didn't care about me. But to be able to let people know that you care about them and what they do, that's priceless. So I would say trust the voice and believe that if you're willing to give it your best, no matter what that looks like, that things will work out for you.
Wow. Well, it was a near miss that you didn't become a counselor.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
but
that's how Chris and I know each other, because he married Angela, who was an artist that I worked with here in Mississippi. So
I love that. I love that. And did you connect over your art? Did you continue to work with her? Do you still?
Yeah. Still stay all these years later. Yeah. We're still friends to this day.
That's wonderful. That's amazing. Well, I love this. This has been fascinating. Even though you and I have known each other for a little bit, we've talked a great deal. We've shared, both of us, with each other. I feel like I have learned so much about you and who you are, and about your process. And that's been really revealing. And I appreciate you sharing so much. That's I think a lot of people will benefit from that a lot, because I think a lot of people don't understand how you can do so much, especially if they know anything about you. But maybe now, having listened to this, they'll understand that it's really not about the doing, it's about the being, and it's about trying to give back, and it's about trying to, as you put it, be in service to others, but also to flex your own creativity and live life to the absolute fullest that you can, and go to bed every night with no regrets and nothing left on the table. And I think that is an admirable quality, especially since you do balance it with a little downtime to recharge and restore and re-energize your batteries. And I think you've found the secret to youth, is what I think.
Well, thank you. Well, Ellen, let me just say one more thing, because I think this is important for me personally. I'm genuinely happy. And I see so many people who are not. And that saddens me. Now, I do understand that I control a lot of my life at this point. But I wake up happy and excited. I go to bed tired, but excited. But I'm genuinely happy. There's nothing, I can literally say this without any exaggeration. There's nothing I do every day I don't enjoy. I find joy in everything, because I see it as bigger than just me. And even though I do work, it's fun. It's fun for me. And so that joy and that peace and that happiness I feel, I would want that for everybody, because it makes life so much better.
Yeah.
Wow.
So you have embraced your inner fabulosity and you are maximizing your potential. And I love that.
I want to pass it over to you so that you can share anything that you've got going on, any big projects you want to share. I know we've talked about a lot of them today, But anything else you'd like to plug for our listeners?
Well, let me first say how much I enjoyed this. Was a great conversation. So congratulations to the two of you on the show. Definitely wishing you much success. Everything I'm doing, I'm pretty easy to find. Just cyruswebb.com is my link tree, and they can find all of my books and my shows and all of that. I won't bore them with ticking off each one because there's a lot of them. So, but if they go to cyruswebb.com, I promise you that will give them more than enough information and places to be able to find me.
And I would also encourage folks to follow you on Instagram and just listen to your daily message of positivity. I find it really useful, and I encourage everyone to do that.
I think that's wonderful, and I think that's a great place to close it for everyone. Cyrus, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you
Thanks
so
to the
much.
two of you. Really appreciate the platform.
Absolutely. I encourage everyone watching to go to Cyrus's webpage, cyruswebb.com. Follow him on Instagram. Check him out on YouTube and on Amazon Live. Look at his artwork. Read his books. It's really great stuff. We are so excited for the October 29th Guinness Book of World Records, which, you heard it here first, is going to be a new book. So with that, I guess we'll say thank you so much. And thank you to everyone for watching. Have a really great day.
See you, Cyrus.
All right. See you. Thank you.
So what did you think?
I think that Renaissance man is the exact right word for Cyrus. And you mentioned it earlier. I mean, that man does everything.
Everything.
He does everything.
Crazy.
And it's, you know, I know he talked about like, oh, you know, there are things I have to decide, and there's all these different things that I'm working on, but I can't do everything. It feels like he's doing everything. It feels like I want to know what like magical time expander he has, because there's no way he's doing all this in 24 hours in a day, or he just doesn't sleep. That's my theory.
You know, so first of all, what really strikes me is though he's doing all these things and he's very humble about it, right? He's so
super humble,
unassuming, but he's interviewing these incredible people. He's, you know, talking to tens, 50 thousands. I don't even know how many people are watching his. I mean, he must have millions of downloads at this point.
Yeah.
And I, you know what he's not doing? He's not spending 6 hours a day scrolling on social media. No. He's the one putting out the content.
Exactly.
But yeah, it's amazing. He just really, you know, there's an expression about working in the wrinkles of the day.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so you have like a few minutes here or there. You know, when I first started writing, one of the things I read about, you know, I was researching what are some tricks to help writers get to writing, basically, because it's a whole process involved in that. And one of the things I read, and I honestly can't remember where I read it, but it was you have to work in the wrinkles of the day, so that if you have 15, 20 minutes, 30 minutes between activities, or before you go to bed, or while you're drinking your coffee or whatever, try to take advantage of those wrinkles. And I feel like he uses all his wrinkles. So he's just got a smooth surface. It's just continual for him. So.
I also think it's really, really it's a really important message for him to like share his personal journey and his story, and about, you know, when he was 18 and he chose life and continued. I think that that's something that a lot of people need to hear.
Yeah.
You know, there's so much that's so difficult about life.
Yeah.
And I think that everyone listening either has gone through or has someone that they care about who's gone through like difficult times and has had very dark thoughts, and he is just such a shining emblem of how much you can do, how much good you can put into the world by choosing to stay and choosing to continue.
There is light after the darkness.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's the embodiment of positivity and hope and potential.
Yeah, and I think that that's what makes him such a dynamic and empathetic person in this field, and someone who is so successful.
Yeah, and you know, he talked about he can do anything he wants, but what he doesn't say, because I think it's just ingrained in who he is the only thing he seems to want to do are positive things that inspire and motivate. And really bring a benefit into the world and into other people's lives.
Yeah.
You know,
And it all comes back to that idea of
That's
service. That's
Mhm.
service.
Yeah. Yeah. His process is very much focused on being there for others, which is selfless.
Mhm.
But as he said, he gains personal benefit and reward from that, personal fulfillment from that, which I love. I think that's just a beautiful thing.
A real
really
the
do.
giving tree energy.
Right,
It's
right.
really, yeah.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
Yeah.
I love that. That's exactly.
Well, in the meantime, folks, thank you so much for joining us this week with our chat with Cyrus Webb. We had a great time. I hope you had a great time. And in the meantime, make sure to tune in next week for another exciting guest and follow us on socials. Wherever you are listening or watching, make sure to turn on your post notifications, like, subscribe, all those things so you never miss a new episode. And Allie.
And try to be a light in the world. And we'll see you next time on So What's Your Process?
Bye-bye.